a friend of mine, one of my best friends, he had mentioned, "Hey, I've got a buddy. He's actually wanting to get away from the lifestyle that he's been living in this house, and he's, like three payments behind." And I mentioned this to one of my clients who was a Remax agent. I said, "Ivan, I said, man, I've got this opportunity. The guy will sell me the house for what he owes." And he's like, "Well, Philip, just get the deed." I'm like, "Get the deed? What's the deed?" I didn't even know what a deed was, man. I was blessed to kind of be an entrepreneur pretty early on. My dad was a missionary in Brazil, so I lived in Brazil for 20 years. And unfortunately, dad was actually diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2000. He was diagnosed in January, passed away in April, and he was only 44 years young. But I learned a lot from, from him growing up.
Hello and welcome to the Dream Start Own podcast. I'm Edgar the Connector, and today's guest is Phillip Warrick. How are you today, sir?
What's up, Edgar? Great to see you again. I'm doing amazing, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for coming. Plan to pick your brain on a bunch of things. How long have you been in real estate industry now?
Yeah, started studying it back in like 97, got our first house in 2001, went full time December of 2003. So we're going what, 23 years full time.
23 years.
Yeah.
What made you change from 2001 to 2003 to go full time to real estate?
So I was young, man, when I got started. And like, I remember like when I was in high school asking my dad, like, "Hey, if I go to college, man, what's it going to take for me to buy a house?" And he was like, "Man, save up a bunch of money and, build up your credit. And if you get 20% down in good credit, I'm sure that would be a good strategy." And, my idea was I was going to buy a house in college and then rent rooms out to my friends, right? But I was watching late night television one night and I saw an infomercial. It was Carlton Sheets teaching creative finance, believe it or not, with how to buy houses with no cash, no credit. I was like, man, this sounds like a shortcut to the advice that dad just gave me, you know what I mean? And so I started dabbling in that, man. I was calling leads from the newspaper and doing that. But I was blessed to kind of be an entrepreneur pretty early on. My dad was a missionary in Brazil, so I lived in Brazil for 20 years. And I feel like running a church and being a missionary is kind of like an entrepreneur endeavor. And then when we came off the mission field in the early 90s, we moved back here. Dad ended up meeting a guy at a church that he was a pastor of here in Houston, and started a business. Right, so I grew up kind of working for my dad through the sign business that he started. And learning those entrepreneur skills. Unfortunately, dad was actually diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2000. And he was diagnosed in January, passed away in April. And he was only 44 years young. But I learned a lot from him growing up. And in that, a few years after he passed away, I ended up buying the sign business from my mom, right? And so my passion for real estate was first. The sign business was kind of like, oh my gosh, mom's over here struggling to run a business. She's been a housewife her whole life. And I saw that as an opportunity to purchase that business from her. Meanwhile, I was dabbling in real estate. You know what I mean? That first year, I did one house. The second year, I ended up buying two houses. And the third year, I think it was like three or four houses, and literally did my first subject to deal in December of 2003. And that's when I realized, okay, this strategy is legit. I think I can do this full time. And I ended up selling the sign business to do real estate full time. So that's kind of what that means, right? Going from being, a full time entrepreneur to being a full time real estate investor. And that happened in December of 2003, man, when I bought my first subject to taking over payments deal.
Wow. A lot of it is about the who you know, right? So you didn't really know Carlton Sheets, but you saw what he was doing or heard, and then that just triggered something. Instead of saving the 20% that a lot of people are taught to do, you figured out the shortcut to be able to get into it. Sorry to hear about your dad, man. It's gonna be traumatic to go through something at that age.
Yeah, yeah, it was, man. And, as a young kid, I was only 20. I was the youngest of three siblings, and it hurt all of us, right? And I mean, honestly, I think we were angry with God. Like we had lost a little bit of our faith because here we are, missionary kids. Like we grew up in Brazil. Dad planted three churches, took over a church. So we were kind of angry. Like, why? Why would God do this? You know what I mean? And so it was, man. It really impacted my family. It was pretty difficult, but Dad taught us a lot. He had faith in Christ all the way till the end. He wrote us a really good letter, pointing us to Jesus, even on his deathbed. And I think that's the most important thing is just having that. It took a little while for us to, or for me anyway, personally, to get back into church and get back into the Word. But being a missionary's kid, that's, I basically was born in church and raised in church, and you can't get away from it. You know what I mean? So that's what we put our hope in, and our faith in Jesus, knowing that, we'll see him again, one day. And so, but yeah, it was difficult, but I look at it now too, Edgar. I think it really forced me as a young guy to grow up fast. You know what I mean? Most of my friends, they were out partying and doing what 20-year-olds do, 21-year-olds, and we lost dad, and then my wife and I got married at 21. She was 20, turned 21, just shortly after we got married. So we grew up quick, started having babies, and we're blessed with 4 children and now 2 grandchildren. You know what I mean? But um, life has its way of working out, man. Everything works out in the end. We miss dad every day. It doesn't get easier, but it is part of my journey, and I think that kind of you know, adds a little bit to my success and why I had to grow up quick. So
Yeah, it's definitely understandable. I, I kind of went something like that though with my dad. He's not dead, but he's dead to me.
oh man.
So like basically in 2000, no, not 2008. So I was probably 98. My parents split up, I think, somewhere on there. I was 7, and he stayed around for about a year. On weekends, came picked us up, and then he just disappeared. And then I ran into him probably like 7 years later. No, 9 years later. I was at work,
Oh
and he
well.
was in there just like a shopper, dude. Like, what the heck? What are you doing here? Why aren't you like contacting us? And then a couple years later, my mom was selling the house that they had bought together, so she had to get a hold of him because he had a sign. So I ran into him that time again, and then 2006 comes around and my brother was killed in action, and then I had to get a hold of him and just let him know what happened, and just tell him like I'm not asking you for anything. I just want you to know you're done. Your son died a hero. He was killed in action as a Marine,
Wow.
and I don't know if he ever came to see his resting spot. So I mean basically because he just hasn't been a part of there, but I can get little pings of him here or there. So I know that's hard going that way. It's dad drama.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but yeah, and then forced us to grow up too because it was me and my brother at that time when he was 2.
Yeah. And you were
But
7, right? So your brother
yeah,
was 2 and you were 7, and yeah, you gotta.
and my mom had to go work 3 jobs, and it was yeah. I mean, we went through it. That's one reason I think we become resourceful because we lose a pillar of our lives.
Yeah.
And then it's funny. I did a subject 2 kind of in '99. Is when my mom was moving to another house and they were gonna sell it. Or was this before they sold it?
Okay.
Um, I took over their mortgage and was house hacking, selling the renting out the rooms. I didn't know anything about the terminology of it, that it was a thing. I was just like, hey, I want to stay here. How can I do it? I needed to have some roommates so I can pay for the houses.
Nice.
So I wish I'd you know expanded on that because I would have been so much further along in the real estate game.
That's awesome. So you beat me then. So you got one in 99, and mine was in 2003. And a lot of my first few deals were creative, but they were from like family, right? We ended up buying my wife's mom's house when she, got remarried and moved, and then we had purchased my mom's house, which wasn't creative. We did get our own financing, but back then we could do stated income loans, right? So I was self-employed, but they still had stated income loans back then, and so we were able to buy that house with a stated income loan. And but yeah, a lot of those first few deals were creative and more from like friends and family, right? So I think that's what it took a little while before we realized, okay, this is a legit business because we had done it with friends, family, and then that first real sub 2 deal was one that was actually a referral to me, and it was a friend of mine, one of my best friends. He had mentioned, hey, I've got a buddy. He's actually wanting to get away from the lifestyle that he's been living in this house, and he's like 3 payments behind, and I think you should talk to him. And so I did, and I didn't even know what sub 2 was really back then, and I was in the sign business, if you remember. And so I mentioned this to one of my clients who was a Remax agent, a real estate agent with Remax. And I said, Ivan, I said, man, I've got this opportunity. The guy will sell me the house for what he owes. But he's like 3 payments behind. And he's like, well, Philip, just get the deed. I'm like, get the deed. What's the deed? I didn't even know what a deed was, man. I had already done a few deals, but I didn't know what he meant. And he's like, man, I'll help you out. And so literally he printed up a deed and had him transfer the property over to me, and he stamped it. We recorded it in the county clerk's office. I gave him 5 grand, brought the loan current, and that was our first sub two deal. You know what I mean? So that's when I realized, okay, there's really motivated sellers out there that'll let you, take over the payments on their existing loan. And so yeah, we went full time from there, man. So
Yeah, deed. Everybody thinks title, but the deed is the actual receipt, right, for the
right.
documentation of the house. It takes a while to really learn all the terminology, and if you're not listening to it all day, you get them confused.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And then right there's another situation. You said that realtor Ivan. Shout out to Ivan.
Yeah, yeah.
Again, it's who you know because you didn't know that, but you talk to people. You're surrounding yourself with the people that are doing that type of business to learn it faster, to learn it better, and do it right.
Yeah, that's a great point. And early on I was, like I said, ordering a home study course to figure out what I didn't know, right? So learning from that home study course, and then, that led to calling for sale by owners out of the newspaper. And, back then we're talking, late 90s, early 2000s. And I remember I was, he gave a script, right? Like, hey, call, ask these questions, and I'm calling sellers in the newspaper and asking those questions. And one day this lady said, "Hey, Philip." And I was like, "Yes, ma'am." She goes, "Are you reading from a Carlton Sheets script?" I'm like, "You got to be kidding me. How did you know, right? Like, what are you talking about?" And anyway, she's the one that introduced me to the Rich Club, which is the real estate investment club of Houston. And back then she was like, "Hey, look, there's a club here in Houston. They meet on the first Saturday of every month over at U of H. And I think you should go." And so I was like, "Okay, it's a free event. Okay, no problem." So I go and I walk into this room, and you walk into U of H, and there's in the lobby, there's all these vendor booths with vendors, you know, all the vendors that you would need to buy, fix, and flip a house. Hard money lenders, you foundation repair companies, rehab companies, property management companies. And I'm like, what in the world did I just walk into, right? Because I didn't think it was that like mainstream, like something going on. And then they have like 500 people in attendance and a keynote speaker. And, that keynote speaker teaches a few things, and then he sells his course or his coaching or his mentorship program. And that's really what started my journey, man. And I like literally have been going to real estate training, seminars, coaching, masterminds and all of that since the very beginning. And if it wasn't for those coaches and those mentors and those people teaching me, what they've already learned and learning from their mistakes before I go make them, I wouldn't be, where we're at today. And I want to have been able to go full time and do hundreds of deals and be able to coach other people myself and partner with people that want to do real estate. So it's been a fun journey, but it takes who you know. It's all about knowing somebody that's doing what you want to do and learning it from them.
That's incredible. Rich Club, is that still around?
No, it's not, man. It kind of phased out a little bit after the '08, the 2008 market crash, when I feel like a lot of the real estate trainers and gurus back in that day sort of kind of disappeared off the scene back in like 2010, 2011, which was just a little bit after the 2008 crash. A lot of those guys have come back and they're, training again, but there's a lot of newer guys like, our mentor right now, Pace Morby. So a lot of new guys came onto the scene after that crash, right? So, but yeah, I don't know what happened to the Rich Club. There's a few other little investment clubs that spun off from that, around here, but yeah, the Rich Club is gone.
Interesting. You mentioned newspaper. For those of you that don't know, newspaper is a big sheet of paper that they would deliver to your house if you signed up for the subscription, and they had
Yeah,
ads. This is,
classified ads, man.
yeah. Now everybody's got everything on their phone. Google, AI, so many different ways. You guys have so many ability, so many shortcuts compared to what Philip had when he started.
Yeah, no doubt.
Take
I mean, now you
advantage
can
of it.
have a AI bot just making your calls for you, so then you don't get caught, right? Now they might ask, "Hey, is this AI?" Right? Like, but there's so much different things and systems and automations that we didn't have back then.
Yeah, Prop AI is one of those AIs. If you want to try it out, we have a link down below. Um, you are now teaching courses as well. What is your teachers mainly about?
Yeah, so I teach mainly creative finance, right? That's where I kind of got my teeth cut, right? With doing the creative finance and knocking on the doors of pre foreclosures. And, I've been in the industry so long. I kind of like to cater my coaching based on the person that needs coaching, right? Because not everybody's in the same place. And there's so many different strategies within this industry. I still learn new strategies. I was actually watching some YouTube videos earlier this morning to try to figure out a type of strategy and an offer to make on another property. But the key point there is that I'm always learning, right? And everybody's in a different place, right? Some people, they're wanting to get into real estate and replace their job and do real estate full time as their active income. Some people, they have no money, no credit, like I didn't have when I was getting started, right? And so their journey might be a little bit different than somebody that has money and has credit available. Some people, they don't want to quit their job and be a full-time real estate entrepreneur maniac like we are, right? But they have capital or access to capital that they want to invest, and they still want to benefit from real estate. So I've kind of tailored my coaching to that, like figuring out, hey, what's your goals? Where are you trying to go? What's your long-term vision? What do you need now? And, what do you need for in the future? And so just kind of tailoring my coaching to that. We do hold, like, Monday nights, we do Zooms where we're going over deals live and looking at, people's deals with them in front of, several people that show up, and we'll review deals live, either deals that they need help with or deals that we actively have going on, answer questions and things like that. And then I do some, a lot of coaching and mentoring to people that want to get started. Maybe they want to basically start with wholesaling, so we teach them how to do the marketing, how to go out and, knock on doors, mail letters, and who to talk to, and get leads coming in so that they can go out there and make offers, and then potentially bring those deals back to me to where we can actually help them get them sold or buy them from them or wholesale them together.
Keyword there is help, collaboration over competition. I love it.
Yeah.
Your Zooms that you do Mondays, is that open to everybody or just people in your community?
Yeah, we open it up to everybody, and the main thing that we want to create there is to teach people how to go out there and find deals and bring them to us. And like I said, we're essentially partnering with people. We do a lot of JV, joint venture partnerships on those deals. And so, yeah, we open it up for anybody that wants to come, and that's Power Mondays. And we'll usually post a link every Monday on our website. So once you sign up once, you'll get reminders every Monday that, that we're going to be on. And we encourage people to bring deals. Like, hey, if you got a lead that you want to look at, or a deal already under contract that you need help underwriting, we can look at that.
Fantastic. So go to your website. What's your website?
phillipwarrick.com, and that's where you can find all my social media. So it's PHILLIPWARRICK.com, and you can find links there and sign up for our newsletter and different things like that.
Okay. I'll have the link down below. Hey, give us a like, subscribe to the channel. It's free, and learn more stuff from amazing people like Phillip Warrick here, and join his course. Learn how to get into deals. Get some. You're based in Houston, right?
Yes, sir. Right here in Deer
Yes.
Park, Texas.
Deer Park, Texas. And if you're local, meet up with him. He's at a lot of events that get thrown out from the community. A lot of meetups. You can meet him there. I actually met Philip in person finally at a meetup for veteran housing that Brian Matson is putting together. Some container homes. Shout
Yeah.
out Brian.
Yeah, that's a cool project that they're doing out there, man. And that's the other part, right? Where you're essentially helping people, right? Like real estate, yeah, it can be a very lucrative business. It can replace your job if you want it to. It can, make a lot of money, right? But the money, what's it for, right? It's to make an impact, right? And so in order to be able to make an impact and to influence a market, or help veterans, or help, people that need a place to live when they're going through rehab and sober living and all these things, right? It's a way to be able to help the community, right? And to give back. And so, love what Brian's doing with the veteran housing, and supplying that, helping them get back, give back by helping them get into affordable housing. So pretty cool.
Definitely. I was surprised to hear how many veterans are in that situation. One of the things we interviewed one of Brian's veterans that he's housing, and he said that really stuck with me. There's when he's in service and he falls down, he has his team there to help him out. But out when he's a civilian, he doesn't have that, and they don't like asking for help. So if you see a veteran out there, reach out, say hello, talk to them for a little bit. That goes a long way to helping out other people, and then you can help yourself out because you can end up feeling good as well. So it's not just you get a both give and take there.
Love it. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
What is what's your team look like today?
Man, we we do a lot of stuff, man. And I wouldn't recommend this probably on anybody, but in 2017, we kind of got a little bit excited about the Airbnb and the short-term rental business, right? So we went full speed furnishing properties and putting them on Airbnb. And I have a whole strategy behind that. It's not just about Airbnb, but when I buy, fix, and flip a house, I like to furnish it and put it on Airbnb, and so I'm ready to sell it. So that's kind of part of the strategy. So we have 30 plus listings on Airbnb right now. We do have a handful of houses that we own as just long-term rentals, a handful that we own with lease option, like tenant buyers in there, giving people the ability to buy a house eventually when they can, right? Maybe they need a little bit of time to fix their credit. We have several properties that we've sold on wraps where we've been the bank, right? We own or finance houses to some sellers. So we have a pretty, diverse portfolio. But as far as that, man, with the 33 listings on Airbnb, I mean, we have a handful of cleaning ladies that my mom actually helps coordinate all these cleanings and make sure that all the houses are ready for guests. We have, like a handyman, on staff constantly running around to tweak these houses and fix things up a little bit. I've got a full time disposition guy at the office, Raul Holguin, and he's awesome. He's at the office. He takes calls. He takes walk-ins. He'll go look at houses and help make offers. So he does a little bit of acquisitions and dispositions. My wife and I have a full time real estate agent that's on our team. She's kind of our assistant per se, and helps us with whatever needs to be done at the office, a lot of the bookkeeping stuff. We got a young lady that helps with a lot of data entry and bookkeeping, and we got a team of virtual assistants in the Philippines for the short-term rental business, and another team in the Philippines doing a lot of help on my personal branding and social media stuff. So and then all the trades that we lean on, man, that we work together with all the time. The framer, we've got Timo, his painting crew. We got electricians, HVAC guys, right? So when we do rehab houses, we kind of lean on the same guys that we use over and over again. We contract out everything to them. So it's a pretty diverse team, man. It's we're blessed to have a lot of people behind us that we get to support and that support us and our vision and our mission. And yeah, always growing, man. So
That's incredible. You got a big team there. You're helping out employ multiple people in
yeah.
multiple areas in multiple countries. It's amazing. It's speaking about Airbnbs now. Houston has that registered to do Airbnbs. That's a headache. Are you gonna keep all 30, or are you gonna switch a little bit?
Yeah, so we're switching. We do, and like I said, I'll buy fix and flip houses and then I'll put them on Airbnb. So, for those of you that don't know, like when you buy, fix and flip a house, that's pretty much active income, right? So you have to pay what's called short-term capital gains, which is pretty much equivalent to your income tax, right? So if you're in like a 35 or 45% tax bracket, your flipping activities falls under that short-term capital gains. If we hold a property as a rental for a year or longer and we sell it, then it's not considered active income. It's not considered, like the same tax bracket, right? So that's going to be long-term capital gains, which ends up being like 20% on your profit as opposed to like your regular 35 to 40%, whatever tax bracket you're in. So we like to hold properties on Airbnb, and so we've owned it for a while. If they're doing great, yeah, we're going to keep it on Airbnb and just roll with it. And sometimes they do. Sometimes they outperform our expectations, and we'll just keep those on Airbnb. And sometimes it's just like, hey, we're literally just using that to generate income, to have money coming in until we're ready to sell that property. And so we'll hold that property until we're ready to sell it, and then we'll list it. So I mean, we've done probably 70 plus Airbnbs, and like I said, my portfolio is in the 30s, right? So we're constantly listing them, taking them down, selling them. Some of the houses that we have on Airbnb, they're not your like vacation destination Airbnbs. They're literally houses in the suburbs: Deer Park, LaPorte, Pasadena, Seabrook, like houses that you wouldn't think people would book for a vacation. But again, there are flip houses that we decided to just, hey, let's hold it on Airbnb, right? So the short answer is, yeah, we're selling some. We lease option some of them out, and we're still going to use the platform. And it's interesting. Nancy Johnson, she's in the community. She sent me a YouTube video a couple of days ago about renters, and it was like basically a house, and the ladies Airbnbing it. Well, the people weren't paying rent. They were trying to get squatters' rights, and she's like, "No, this is a hotel. You don't get squatters' rights, right? No, you have to evict me. You have to evict me." Is kind of like the message behind that. And so she's like, okay, we'll see. So she calls the police, and the police come in, and they're like, oh no, you need to evict him. He's like, no, you need to call your supervisor. So they call the supervisor, and they say, look, here's my short-term rental permit. Here's the signs that it's a short-term rental. And sure enough, they pulled him out, yanked him out of the house like a hotel, right? And so I saw that video literally last night. It's funny that you asked that, because I'm having resistance to, like, all of these cities making us now get permits, and they want hotel occupancy taxes. But then again, it's like, okay, well, if I look at it that way, it's like, because that's always a fear in the back of our head, is like, man, what if one of these, renters book the place and they just move in, and then you got to go evict them and go through that whole process. They could tie up the house pretty for a while. You know what I mean? So that's one way of looking at it. And I think another way of looking at it too is a lot of the people that aren't operating, huge businesses, it might weed out a lot of the competition, because that's one of the things from 2017 till now. Bro, in 2017, it was amazing. Like, every one of these houses did two, three, four times more in short-term rental income than I could get in long-term rental income. But now that it's saturated, there's so much competition, it's hard to compete. So our prices are down, right? And so maybe that'll weed some people out and make ours perform better. We'll see. But I'll continue using it, like I said, when I'm wanting to buy and hold just for a little bit longer, and keep moving properties, man. We're just constantly moving them.
That's a brilliant strategy. So doing the fix and flip instead of selling it right there and having to pay those higher taxes, Airbnb it for a bit, then after a year, reduce your tax implications on that.
Yeah,
Dude, amazing. I love it.
yeah. Sounds great in theory, man, but it's a heavy lift. It's a lot of work, bro. Like we're literally, hiring moving companies to help with all of that, to move furniture and set up. And that's why it takes a huge team, you know what I mean? But again, we're providing jobs for these people. And, if you're in it to win it, you're gonna do whatever it takes. And sometimes that's what it takes, especially in the market that we've been in. Like, we're in a buyer's market, right? So selling houses right now isn't the best strategy. So if you can buy them and hold them for a little bit, until the market rebounds, then you're going to be in a better position. Or if you have to sell, at least you're generating some income until it sells.
How often do you sell those properties with furniture?
It's interesting. More like, I've got some in Galveston that, they're basically going to be purchased by an investor to do short-term rentals and Airbnb, right? So your vacation destination properties, it's more likely that they're going to want to buy it turnkey, furnished, ready to go. But when you're talking about houses in the suburbs, usually we're exiting to an owner occupant, and they have their own furniture. And then the fact is, man, we've always got a rehab going, a house that's vacant, ready to be furnished. So I'd rather move that furniture than sell it for, 20, 30 cents on the dollar, right? Which is what they offer. So we'll keep moving that furniture around.
Cool. Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing about the Airbnb certificates registration here in Houston, that it was going to weed out a bunch of people that don't want to go through that process. And then two, shout out Nancy Johnson. She sent me the same thing.
Did you?
Certify your property as a hotel. So now they don't have to be evicted because they don't pay. They're out that same day. Just officers need to know the difference to be able to differentiate the two and not have to call the supervisor. But yeah, it was great information there.
Yeah.
And do you have a place for people to look up the inventory that you have available for lease options or wraps?
Yeah. So our lease options, when we have our properties for sale, that's at makethemovenow.com. 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 And that's where our inventory of houses that we have available for rent to own, lease options. Sometimes, like I said, we do some seller financing. So those properties can be found there. And as far as our Airbnbs, if you ever want to look at our inventory of Airbnbs, our direct booking site, not on Airbnb, but our direct booking site, that's epicpropertypros.com. Epicpropertypros.com.
Look at you, so efficient. Three websites for that. And so people that are listening for wraps and lease options, that type of purchasing a property that way is a way if you don't qualify for a conventional loan, or if you have a 1099, if you have like a cash job, then you can contact Philip to be able to get a property that way. Or if you haven't been in your job long enough, you have to be there for 2 years in the same industry to
Yeah.
qualify for a conventional loan, go to makethemove.now.com and look at the properties that are available. You'll probably be able to get something there that you like and not have to go through as many hoops as you would with the conventional bank.
Yeah. So check it out, man. You remember I've been self-employed since 2001, you know what I mean? And we can't walk into a bank and qualify for a loan. Like there's no stated income loans out there anymore, right? And then now we own this portfolio of real estate, which what does that create? It creates all these write-offs and these benefits that we get as real estate investors that basically every year we show a loss, right? So we created MakeTheMoveNow.com to help people achieve the dream of home ownership, whether they're self-employed and can't walk into the bank and get a loan like we can't. Every single house that we've owned and lived in our whole marriage, my wife and I have been married now going on 25 years next year. And we have, I mean, I think in that time we've lived in 7 or 8 houses, probably more, right? But every single one of them were creative. Like we were either on the lease option or we took the house over subject to, or we had some form of seller financing. Even the house that we live in today, we paid the seller their equity and took over the payments on their mortgage, right? And so we knew early on, like, hey, let's create this program to help other people that are in the similar situations as us with the lease option and owner finance programs. And that's what Make the Move Now, man. We've had that domain and that business for, man, I think 15 years or so. Yeah.
Wow, man. 20 plus years in the industry. Reach out to him if you want to learn. He's got the courses to teach you. Reach out to his website if you're looking for a property to move into. Come to his Zoom just to hang out with him, to learn what he's doing, to see what people have questions about real estate.
Yeah.
Like most entrepreneurs, I don't sleep enough. So the hours that I do sleep need to be of better quality. The 8 Sleep Pod, it has been a game changer for me. Perfect temperature all night, less snoring, and I actually wake up refreshed. And my wife does as well, which is a huge plus. Happy wife, happy life. You can try it through my affiliate link below. Now we go back to the episode. What do you need? What do you need help with? How can people work with you?
You know what? I think, when we're talking about this, right, we're talking about what took 20 plus years to get here. Everybody's journey starts somewhere, right? And like I said earlier, not everybody wants to be a full time real estate entrepreneur. I name all these websites that we have and all these deals that we've gotten, like all the different business entities that we have. But it doesn't take that, right? It just takes one deal. It takes getting started. So don't get overwhelmed with that, right? If you told me 25 years ago that I'd need to have all of this, I would have probably never got started. And as far as like to work with me, man, like, hey, just book a call. Let's talk. Let's see where you're at, see where you're trying to go. And I have a lot of really great business partners, right? And this is one thing that I didn't mention when you asked me about team, is that we have a lot of private money partners. We have private money lenders, people that have capital that they want to put to work outside of the stock market or outside of the bank or bank CDs, right? And so we partner with them and put their capital to work for them. So they don't have to go build all the infrastructure that we have, that we've spent, 25 years building. And they can actually be more of a passive investor where they put up the capital and we go do the work and they benefit from that, right? And so we do private money lenders, private money partnership deals. So anybody that has capital or access to capital, if you want to talk to us about investing with us alongside of us, to where you can actually put your money to work, let us do all the work and let your money give you great returns secured by real estate, that's a great way to work with us, right? But if you have no money and you're wanting to get started, we can help show you the way as well, how to get out there and make offers to bring deals where you can actually get paid 5, 10, $15,000 just for, bird dogging or wholesaling deals to us. So I'd like to meet you where you're at, wherever you're at, whatever help you need and whatever your goals are, we can help you, kind of map that out and figure out the best way that you can get there on your own or work together to do that with us.
100%, man. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And people reach out to him if you want to get into it. If you don't want to get into it and you want to make your money grow by kind of putting your money to work, make your money become like an employee for yourself.
Yes.
Reach out to him and he's going to show you how you'll be protected, what the numbers are. And because he's done so many deals, he'll be able to show you what he's already done and what he's been able to pay out other partners, money lenders. So you don't have to be a lender or think that you have that. If you have a 401k that you're not using, you can change it self-directed. There's ways to use your insurance, your personal life insurance. Again, we're not CPAs yet or financial advisors. Check with your financing, whoever it is that you're dealing with. But there's so many ways to get into it, and we're open to collaboration. We're not looking for competition. It's fun sometimes, but collaboration we can get so much further.
Yeah, and people ask me all the time, Philip, what's the least amount that I need to get started? And it doesn't take a lot of money, right? So I do have high net worth individuals that have half a million, $1 million invested with us on multiple deals and things like that. But we also have investors that, like you just said, that have, a 401k or a retirement account or some money in a bank CD. Like we can start with as little as 25,000 and putting them together with us on a property. And from doing that, you also learn from the experience, right? Because we're going to share and be transparent with you on the deal and how we're funding it, what we're doing with it. Those lower, investments like 25,000 might just be a buy, fix, and flip, where you kind of do the gap lending and we go out and we buy the house, we fix it up, we flip it, and you get your capital back with a return. And usually those are like, 3 to 6 month projects. And so, yeah, just you don't have to be wealthy, 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 super wealthy, but as long as you've got some investment capital or access to capital, we can definitely put that capital to work for you and teach you the business along the way. So that's a great way to get started.
Fantastic. Thank you for that advice. Thank you for being so open to share your story and to be able to be open to collaborate with other people. Before we leave, drop a comment below. Tell us your biggest takeaway. Thank you again, Philip, and huge thank you for joining us.
You're welcome, man. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you. I was on your show too. Appreciate
Yes,
that,
sir.
and hopefully we get you some deals, some people working with you, and going from there. So I'm signing off till the next time. We'll see you in the next episode. I'm out.
All right. Catch you on the flip side.
Catch this next podcast where you can start your dreams and start to own your time the way these other guests have.